Welcome to Suzuki Carry, also known as the cheapest car in Gran Turismo 7. Now today I'm going to be putting it up against the most expensive car in the game, being the Aston Martin Valkyrie, and we're going to see if the little Suzuki can actually defeat this Goliath. So with that being said, let's see how big of a challenge we have ahead of us. So the Suzuki Carry, when I tell you this will redefine your definition of slow, I am not joking. This vehicle is going nowhere in a hurry and it is just painfully slow, especially going uphill, because you will actually see your speed drop. But hey, what are you expecting for 7,600 credits? So this vehicle produces a total of 47 brake horsepower, which is not enough in my opinion, but anyway, it's enough to get us going. Now this vehicle, the saving grace of it has to be the lightweightness of the vehicle. Coming in at just over 700 kgs, it is a feather, and that's also a reason why when it comes to cornering, you don't really need to brake. It's more of a suggestion. With this vehicle, at no point in time do you not know what it's doing. You can really just chuck it through corners and guarantee that you are going to be coming out that end. Now the Suzuki Carry is not the most exciting thing to drive on stock, and when it comes to lap times, well, we found ourselves around Kyoto Driving Park sitting a lap time of 2 minutes and 40 seconds on average. So yeah, it's not fast. But anyway, look, that's not the case, because we have a massive task ahead of us, and that is beating the Aston Martin Valkyrie. So there's only one way to improve this, and that is by taking it over to the tuning shop. Now in the tuning shop, we do have ultimate parts available for this vehicle. However, they don't really improve the power that much. I mean, after applying all ultimate parts, you're gonna be left with 60 brake horsepower, which doesn't really make that big of a difference. But thankfully we are able to slap on a turbocharger, and with the rest of the supporting mods, well, we do bring the grand total of power up to 151 brake horsepower, which is a massive difference, over more than tripling the power of the standard Suzuki. And then we also see we still somehow have weight reduction. I don't know where we're pulling the weights out of this little Suzuki, but regardless, the vehicle will now weigh 624 kgs. So that is a massive improvement, but it's still very far off the over 1000 horsepower from the Aston Martin Valkyrie. But look, now that the vehicle's fully upgraded, let's make it look fast if we can't actually be fast. So by taking it on over to GT Auto, we see that this vehicle actually has a ton of customization options. Starting off, we have a wide body kit. This is very crucial depending on the upgrades you want, because for 5,000 credits, your upgrades will be completely different to your narrow body or standard body. So we see for standard body, well, we have two options for a front bumper. We have two options for a front bumper. We have two options for a side skirt, which really just completely changes the look of it, except Type B that just adds a wind deflector. Then at the rear, you can turn it into a food truck. This is why I love Gran Turismo, because what other game is gonna add a vehicle like this and then still add the ability for you to add a kitchen into it? So the customization doesn't stop there. We also have front grille customization as well, and then even custom front number plate customization. We even have number plate customization. We have a special plate that is put onto a vehicle. If anyone knows what it means, please let me know. But regardless, so that is your standard body customization. Body applied, we get a new front splitter, we get brand new side skirts, and we have two new options for our rear bed. Now the wings, that still remains the same, but you can completely just transform the look of your vehicle and turn it into a proper racing truck, which is very interesting. So yeah, once you have finished upgrading the looks of your Suzuki Carry, well, then you can move on to actually racing it. So now after you fully upgraded and you want to take it around circuit, you do need to play with the settings a bit, especially your transmission, because if you do not extend the gears, well, the car is just gonna redline and the suspension is gonna be extremely all over the place if you do not change the settings. So once you dial the vehicle in, I'll be honest with you here, it is not bad at all. It's actually quite surprising how good the Suzuki is. And then we see now 4 lap times, it's still not the best, because with us having what, just over 150 brake horsepower, we're still sitting lap times around the 2-minute mark. But anyway, so now that we have a feel for the Suzuki, let's run it against the Aston Martin. Now the Aston Martin, it has a bit of an advantage. To even out the playing field, we're not going to have it compete against one Suzuki carry, no, but we're going to have it run against 19 Suzuki carries. So starting off, we're in last place and we had the Aston Martin start just ahead of us in 19th, and we see we actually just managed to overtake the Aston Martin immediately thanks to the rest of the AI acting as traffic. We gotta remember, this is on the hardest difficulty. The AI is on professional level racing, and the Aston Martin Valkyrie cannot make overtakes thanks to my army of Suzuki. So if you thought this was gonna be a clean race, how? You really thought the Suzuki carry was gonna beat the Aston Martin fair and square? Let's be serious. I had to take full advantage of the Suzuki carries, creates a little army to just slow down the Aston Martin, but the army is only gonna slow it down for so much. It's from that point on, I need a big enough lead over the Aston Martin to really just keep me going and try and get the race win. So we see we are over 12 seconds ahead of the Aston right now, and the lead is actually growing. Thankfully the Aston was struggling to actually overtake the rest of the army, but we will actually get a look at the Aston's view once we have finished the race. So now a total of 15 seconds ahead, and that's what the Aston Martin now has to try and close the gap in before the 3 laps are finished around Tokyo Expressway. The hunt is now on. We need to stay as focused as possible, trying to keep the Suzuki in line, because with the circuit being west, with the vehicle just having all that power, all 150 brake horsepower going to the rear wheels, the vehicle does want to slide out from time to time. So now we do need to watch out for that. We cannot make any mistakes, because if we look, we see the time between us and that Aston Martin is dropping, and it's dropping fast. So we see by the end of the second lap, the Aston Martin is already 9 seconds behind us. That gap is dropping drastically. As we're still coming through the corners, we see it is already down to 7 seconds. The Aston Martin is going to be on our bumper by the end of this event. The Aston Martin is breathing on our neck. The Aston Martin is just closing the gap. And with every second that passes, I just know the Aston Martin is getting closer and closer. And that's what just makes the whole experience even more adrenaline pumping. We really have to keep pushing, because we see that even though my fastest lap time was a 1:38, the Aston Martin set a 1:31. But thankfully, coming up to the last few corners of the circuit, we see the Suzuki army is there, and thankfully I was able to really just cut around it and make full advantage of the army. So I'm flashing them and all at one point because I needed to get through, and by doing that I managed to actually win a race using the Suzuki carry against the Aston Martin Valkyrie. I know it is cheating, but come on now, let's be serious. It's a Suzuki carry against an Aston Martin Valkyrie. How else did you think I was gonna get this win? So it was still extremely close, as we see less than 5-second gap between myself and the Aston Martin. And the funny thing about it is, we saw that the Aston Martin, the reason it was taking so long to actually catch up to me, the Aston Martin actually got cornered in. I love this, that the AI was helping me. The Suzuki army came in clutch and just boxed in the Aston Martin, not allowing it to make any overtakes. And if it wasn't for this, I would not have gotten a win. So the Suzuki Carry, it is extremely slow, it has tons of customization, and for 7,600 credits, it's well worth the money, and there's no excuse for you to not try it out. So with this being said, let me know your thoughts and opinions of the Suzuki Carry in the comment section, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.